Pelicans and the Suns. Suns took game one pretty easily, 11 points, while they were up by 20 some throughout early in that game. Tonight they're a 9.5-point favorite. Total is 221.5. Josh, couple plays for you in this one. What do you like?
Yeah, double dipping again in this game, basically in the same way we did the first game. So I'm not going to regurgitate too much of the same information in terms of a 1 seed versus an 8 seed in game 2 of a playoff environment where, like we said, the Pelicans having to navigate that play-in, the Suns shaking off a bit of rust. I think, again, we saw from Phoenix in sort of snippets, if you will, of game 1, just how good this team really is and just how built they are for playoff basketball, because when they really switched it on at both ends of the floor, New Orleans couldn't get near them. They couldn't keep pace. That game, it looked like it was going to blow out to 20, 30 points at one point. And then they switched off. And I think the one thing I like about that is that after the game, you had Chris Paul essentially calling the team out for doing just that and saying that if you switch off in the playoffs, teams are going to make a run at you. And we can't afford to do that. And I think that that'll carry over to game 2. In an environment where it might be the best home court in the NBA at the moment. That arena is loud. It's really, really loud. And, you know, the fans will, again, play their part. And I think that we don't get that same drop-off from Phoenix this time around. So they come out, they dominate early. Chris Paul, the entirety of the game, every time he was on the floor, was able to essentially just pick apart any weak spot that New Orleans had. I think he's just going to continue to do so all series. Those guards, especially when the backup guards come on, they just don't have the size to deal with the length and wing athleticism that Phoenix possesses. And that it's essentially going to just come to the fore really early on for me. So Phoenix first half, -5.5 I got. I think it's -6 now. No problem with that either. You know, I wouldn't be shocked to see another double-digit halftime lead for them. Also, the Pelicans team total under. Much like game 1, where I thought even though the Pelicans got hot, they stayed under the number. Again, you look at the Pelicans profile, they're a team who high frequency, high efficiency, mid-range shooting team. The Suns #1 in shot quality and points per possession allowed in mid-range jumpers, which isn't surprising. You get someone like Mikal Bridges on Brandon Ingram and it completely disrupts the flow of the offense and what Ingram's able to do both as a playmaker and as a scorer. So yeah, I think the Suns absolutely roll in game 2. I think this is another one of those series which should be over in 4 games. And I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix ultimately ends up covering the spread in the majority, if not all of those games as well.
I like your play on the Suns first half. I'm going to take that as well, -5.5. I like that better than the full game just because I know the stars are going to be playing early. I mean, if this game does get out of control, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, those players might be sitting a little bit more in that fourth quarter. So I like the first half angle here. In that game 1, New Orleans shot 17 more shots than the Suns, and they out-rebounded the Suns by 20. And yet the Suns still won, still up big at half. I mean, that disparity right there tells me that this game isn't going to be close, and I'm not sure it'll ever be close. I mean, I'd even feel probably comfortable playing the full game here, but I just think Phoenix is the way better team. I think this is a great matchup for Phoenix in terms of personnel and what they can do and how they can exploit the Pelicans. So I also am going to play the first half -5.5 for the Suns. Chris, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, first of all, I think we should go back to what Josh said about that Phoenix crowd. Should we give some credit, Kate, to you and your mom?
Yeah. My mom placed her first bet over the weekend. She put $100 on Booker to hit the first shot because she thinks he's pretty cute. And what does he do? He hits the first shot. She goes crazy. Yeah, she had the arena riled up over the weekend. We'll say that.
Absolutely. Who goes that crazy from the very first shot? I think that's probably the reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that TikTok video is blowing up. So check it out if you haven't seen it. But yeah, I really can't say anything else that you guys haven't said. It's all true. I mean, I have Mikal Bridges written down here and just how fantastic he was against Brandon Ingram, and how they're able to switch players up. You know, the Suns do just a great job at isolating some of their key players too. I mean, the ball movement for the Pelicans is a real issue once they get a little befuddled. You know, the Suns and the Warriors, right? Famously, we talk about them all the time. The ball movement is constant because they're always moving, right? Players are moving always without the ball. The Pelicans stop moving at a certain point, and they become a little too C.J. McCollum dependent. And for what it's worth, CJ is still pretty new to this team. He has not been on this team for most of the season. That's still an adjustment for a lot of these players. You're taking the ball out of Brandon Ingram's hands. You're taking the ball out of Valanciunas' hands. And when it comes to those matchups, they're probably already at a disadvantage anyway. So, I mean, this is a Phoenix Suns team who's beat the Pels 8 out of 10 of the last times in their last games, and most of them by margin. So it's really hard to not just, go ham for the Suns here, and pick every possible bet, on the Suns. So I can't disagree with anything that you guys are saying. Also thinking this one might fall below the total too. I think it's at 221 or so. That still feels a little bit high for me, especially because the Pels are going to try and slow down this game. I don't think they're going to be very successful at it, but the Suns really match up well, I think, on defense. They're really just a pestering defense for a team like the Pelicans. So to picture this going up into the 220s, I don't know. So I also lean towards the under here.
Yeah, the total for game one was 224, and that fell way under that one. So if it's a similar storyline, I think the under is a great look. Josh is going to take the Pelicans team total under, as well as the first half Suns 5.5 for both of us.